Well, it's very nice to have you here, Cliff Callis, and you are the founder of Callis. You're going to tell us about your company here in a little bit. You're located in Sedalia, Missouri, and it is my pleasure to interview you for the Business Spotlight. And I'm Action Coach Lee Gray, and I am out of Wichita, Kansas. So, good afternoon, Cliff. How are you?
I'm doing great, Lee. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Well, I was telling you, and now the rest of the world knows I'm intimidated to be interviewing you because you yourself have done over 210 podcasts over the last 4 years. And I see the sign behind you that says Outdrive, which is the name of your podcast, which is so cool because you're interviewing people in rural America, basically about business. Love it. So tell us how long you've been doing this and how you got started in it.
Well, thank you. Well, I grew up in the retail business. My father owned a small chain of department stores. And after college, I came back to work with he and my brother and did that for several years, enjoyed it a lot. But the retail business changed, and I determined that it was not in my best interest for a lot of reasons to stay in the retail business. So I looked around at things that were going on, things that were happening in our community, and I identified that there was an opportunity for an advertising agency. That was back in
Okay.
1986. And 37 years later, here we are. And it's gone by in a flash. But
Yes.
Callis is a full service advertising agency, and we help clients build their brands and their businesses, and we work in a variety of industries. But our focus and our niche is marketing in and to rural America.
I think that is such a brilliant niche. I mean, obviously, you can still work in other markets because what you do is applicable across industries
Sure,
and markets, but it's just kind of fun to be in the know about our rural community. I actually had a position with Farm Credit in a marketing capacity. I was a director of marketing and business development for one of the technology companies that they had. And it's fun. And I tell you what, farming and rural America is business. It's all business. It's
it
work.
is. It is. It's hard work, and that's kind of a common thread throughout every podcast that I do. Everybody
Mhm.
talks about there's no replacement for hard work, but in the state of Missouri, agriculture is the number one industry.
It is the number one. It is
It's
not in
it's
Kansas. So
yeah, it is big
ours,
business.
okay. It's good to know. So since you've been in the industry, I guess let's talk about the marketing industry. What have been your biggest learning curve since you started in this industry?
Well, keep in mind in 1987 there was no internet. So we have
Yeah.
gone in this industry, we have gone through the digital revolution, and it changed our business, 360 degrees.
Mm,
And so you think about it, there was no internet, there was no Google, there was no Facebook, there was no LinkedIn, there was no AI. And we have gone through all of that in the last
mm.
30 years. And staying on top of it is hard. We in our agency, we really focus on trying to stay abreast of what's happening. A lot of the marketing changes are being driven by technology, and our clients don't have time to do that. They're running their businesses, they're running marketing departments. It's hard for them to stay up with the changes that are occurring and the new technologies that are coming available. So that's one of the commitments we make to them is we're going to stay up with it, and then we're going to introduce you to the ones that we think will impact your business.
Oh, I love
And
that.
it's a challenge because it's just changing so fast.
So really your job is maintaining awareness on behalf of your clients for what it is they may need.
Exactly. And, a podcast is a great example.
Uh-huh.
One of the reasons that we rolled out a podcast a little over 4 years ago was to learn how to do it. We saw it as an opportunity. We knew that we were at the forefront of a very fast growing trend, which really is still in its infancy, even though there are millions of
I
podcasts.
agree. I agree. It still is.
Yeah. So we needed to know how do you roll out a podcast? How do you brand a podcast? How many
Hmm.
hours does it take to produce one? How do you manage it? How do you monetize it? And so those are things that we've been able to do, and we started it for ourselves, and then through this have introduced it to clients and had some that have had us produce their podcast. And we've done this over the years with lots of different types of technology, social media, digital marketing. Um, it's the only way we can do it is if we first learn it.
I love that as an approach. I did some interviews in the early days just on Facebook Live.
Sure.
I thought maybe, wow, that's going to be the platform forever. It ended up not being. I don't even see it much happening much anymore. Interviews being on live, but yeah, learning all those things. LinkedIn had a live platform, or it still does have a live platform, and YouTube has a live platform, and then of course there's the studio and so much to learn. I did notice I had to check out your website before we met, of course, and you have a lot of things that you give away to people, which I think is another great strategy. And I hats off for not being afraid to give it away. And one of them was that it was like an infographic on all the ways for SEO, and you listed all these places where you needed to be, and all the circle of Instagram and Pinterest and all these. And I think that's cool that you're sharing that information, because educated customers they're the best customers.
Well, they absolutely are. And you know, the reason we do that is kind of twofold, maybe more, but one is just to be helpful. I
Hmm.
think that's a good business strategy to be helpful, try to help people. And that's what we try to do in our business. And then the other is to position our subject matter experts as experts, that we know what we're doing, we know how to do it. And if you want a partner like that, then we'd be interested in visiting with you. You know, the funny thing about what we do, and it's been this way the whole time we've been in business, people can do pretty much everything that we do. Hopefully we do it better. It gets better
Yeah,
results. It's more professional and it works, and we stand behind it. So giving it away is kind of a way for us to just position ourselves so that if people want the things that we provide, they know where to find us.
I love that. I mean, as a business coach, mine's similar. Everything I teach is in a book somewhere. Except when I have to smack someone. Now that is not in a book. Just kidding. But if you've ever had a business coach, you know that the most important thing they do is hold you accountable, and that's what you're doing too in your business, is almost holding their business to account to the technology and the place they need to be. Because without that, we're off doing things we shouldn't be doing, right?
Yeah, you know, that's a really good point. And you know, we kind of we see that kind of as the strategy. You
Hmm.
know, there are all these different tactics that you can use in your business, and some of them are very appropriate for what you do, and others are not. If you have a sound strategy in place, it kind of serves as a foundation for everything you do. So it makes it easier to make decisions about opportunities that come along and say that, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That falls into our marketing plan. We have the budget for it. Let's do it. Or, you know, that doesn't make any sense at all. I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you, no, we're not going to do that.
And it may be a great tactic in and of itself someplace else, but not in the strategy that you're
Correct.
working under. I love that. And that is hard, especially as business owners, because you like me are a business owner. I like the next new thing.
Sure.
I love it. And sometimes it's making sure that I don't go overboard on those things. So interesting. So you've got the marketing firm, and then you also have the podcast, and you can answer this for either or both. But what do people mostly misunderstand about your industries? I'd say you're in two, because you're in the podcast industry, plus you're in the marketing agency industry. What do they most misunderstand?
Well, I think it's that everything ought to work together. And we have a phrase in our industry called integrated marketing. And it's where everything that you do is integrated. So your marketing program, your media and your advertising, your sales promotion and your salespeople, your public relations, your website, your digital marketing, your social media, it's all working together. And when you do that, it makes it all stronger and better. And sometimes people look at it in silos and they think, okay, here's our PR plan and here's our
Right.
media. They don't put it all together and they don't optimize their investment when they do that.
That's interesting, because you might be able to get results with one thing, but if you looked at it as a whole, you could probably get better results because they would feed off of each other. I think the PR would feed off the community event, and the community event would feed off the social media, integrated marketing. So that was a great example of that, I think, because I have heard that term, and I thought,
Mhm.
it's just a term, I suppose.
Well,
It's
it's funny because we at one point in the evolution of our brand ourselves, um, we actually not coined the phrase, but took a DBA, Callis Integrated Marketing. And in our industry, it was sort of the buzz term at the time.
yeah,
But when we rolled it out, nobody knew what it was. And so while we still have it and you still see it around places, we don't use it anymore because
mm,
most people just think of us as an advertising agency. And we're really way more than that because we do way more than advertising. But when you think about TV shows that you've maybe seen in the past, and there's some famous ones and some really good ones, it was all about the ad agency. And so that's what
yeah.
people think of when they
Are you
think of
talking about
events.
Mad Men?
Well, I might be.
Or Bewitched? Do you remember that show when Darren was the advertising agency and they just had to come up with a tagline and everything was fine?
Oh yeah, I do. I very much remember that. And in
Uh-huh.
fact, I used to have a gentleman that worked for me, and we called him Larry Tate
That's funny.
because he he would say anything to the client that they wanted to hear.
And then come back and have somebody else figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a hoot. Well, you and I may be about the only people, and you, and 10% of the population know about that show, I guess.
It's a classic
It's a
though.
classic. I think it's on reruns too. So you're an entrepreneur. I suspect you're still an entrepreneur. I don't know what other things you're dabbling in, but usually when I talk to people that are successful like yourself, it's not just one business. So what do you find being the hardest part, and what's your favorite part of being an entrepreneur?
Um, I'll talk about the hardest part, and
Okay.
it's not as hard for me as it used to be. But you know, when you're an entrepreneur and you start building a company and you have employees, those employees have families, and it's a huge responsibility. Um, Running an organization when so many people are depending upon you and the organization for their livelihood. And so if you dwell on that, it becomes pretty daunting. And so I think the fact that you recognize and accept it and then learn to live with the responsibility that you carry when you have an organization of employees and families. So I think that's probably the hardest part of being an entrepreneur. Um, I like change. I really do. I think change is good. And so I think that's one of the things that is a favorite part of being an entrepreneur is you can be a change agent.
Hmm.
You know, as a leader of an organization, you can take it wherever you want it to go. You can make it be whatever you want it to be, and then people follow you. And um, and so I think that's the part that I like maybe the best. And I'm always looking for, something else to get involved in, something to
Yep.
do. I enjoy and I think you and I talked about this earlier, getting to know our clients' businesses, learning a new business, how they operate, how they make money, who their customers are, so that we can help them with their marketing plans.
So much fun getting to know them. I like what you said. You've got a real balance there. So if you can balance the fear that can come with the responsibility of being a great business owner and entrepreneur with change, that's a nice marriage, right? So, but it's a balance
It
that
i- it is
you
a it
have.
is a balance. It's
Hmm.
almost like a risk and reward in many respects,
Hmm.
but it can drive you to great things.
The risk and the reward. I got to make a note of that. Of course, I can hear this again later, but I love that. And the risk and the reward combined can drive you to make the change, that you might not make if you're just living on the fear side. And if
Yes.
you're and if you're just living on the change side and not thinking about the fear a little bit, you might jump into things that you shouldn't. So there's that combination of risk reward balance. That's probably the key to success for entrepreneurs right there. Wow.
I like how you said that.
I do too. I'm gonna have to rewind this because that is the very, very true. But you helped me get there, so I'll share it with you, Cliff.
Perfect.
Yeah. The other question I always want to ask entrepreneurs, and I ask my clients this too. I learn a lot about people by how they start their day, and most entrepreneurs have a very unique something about their day. How do you start yours?
Well, I like mornings. I'm an early person,
Me
so
too.
I'm up by 5 usually.
Hmm.
I like to do a little reading, usually light, find out what's going on, plan my day, and then from there, after a couple cups of coffee, I do a workout
Okay.
most every day, and then off to work after that,
Okay.
depending on what work I have to do that day.
What time do you get to the office usually? So you're at 5 a.m. and you work out. So you're at least an hour before you even. What time do you get to work?
I'm usually not rolling into work until after 8.
Okay. So you're spending a lot of time getting mentally and physically prepared for the day.
Yeah, and when you're an entrepreneur, you can work anytime you want, right?
Can, but you
So
also can stop. You can stop anytime and work on
that's a great point.
yourself, right? Which you're
That's a
working on
great point.
yourself. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So yeah, I take my time in the mornings. I really enjoy it.
Hmm.
At our house, I'm always the first one up, or usually always the first one up, and like it that way. And then the rest of the house comes alive after that.
Yeah. Sometimes if I get up early and someone else gets up early, I can run my morning, go back to bed. But it isn't really. I shouldn't say that. But I do love that gentle peacefulness that I have at 5 a.m. It's nice. This time of day, you can see the sunrise pretty quickly too, and that's. I just think that's such a. I love that.
Yeah, it's a
Part of my
beautiful
day.
time of day.
It is. It really is. So you don't just wake up and do all this on your own. What makes you feel inspired about business and life and continuing to do more?
That's a great question. As I reflect back on that, I have I have achieved a lot of satisfaction in my life through the growth and success of our clients. I love seeing them be successful. I love seeing them living a nice lifestyle, achieving the things that they want to, watching their business grow, watching them add new stores, seeing the change in their marketing programs. I've had calls from clients when they retired that said, "Hey, I couldn't have done it without you."
Mm,
That's the kind of stuff that
mm.
really inspires me.
Yeah, what a gift.
It is a gift. When they come
Uh-huh.
back and do
Yeah.
that, it's a gift.
Yeah, we try to, when we bring people together and we work on something, we always try to get our clients to put in a value, an actual number to it. Because if there's not a number to it, it's probably not worth doing. And when we start to add up all the numbers that have evolved from coaching and them doing things, and you get to be a part of that, it's a huge number, and it's really fun. I can imagine the dollar amount you've inspired in businesses is huge, probably in the millions and millions, many millions, if they've
Yeah,
added businesses and added locations and added teams. And
I would guess. I've never thought about it that way, but yes, I would guess that'd be right.
it's kind of cool to be a part of that. It's inspiring for
Yeah,
sure.
it is.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite business book, or do you recommend what book would you recommend to someone starting out in business, or even someone who just wants to be better at business?
That's also a great question because there's so many really good
Mm-hmm.
books out there. The one that's probably had the biggest impact on me and my life is Seven Habits of Highly
Oh,
Successful People, Stephen Covey.
yeah.
I read that book, I don't know, 25 years ago. I did a seminar with Covey, with that concept, and I continue to use it in my life today with goal setting and it's just had a very profound effect on the way that I live my life.
It does not get old. I mean, his quadrant, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, urgent, not important, urgent, urgent. You know what I mean? That never loses relevance, does it? And if you
No,
can
no, it
work,
doesn't.
yeah, if you can balance out all the urgent and not important and urgent and important things, that's a big deal to be able to accomplish that. So I probably need to pick up that book again to tell you the
Well,
truth.
I probably need to read it again too. I only read it one time and I went through the seminar, but I do continue to utilize some of the premises
Mhm.
of the book. But gosh, there's so many other great books out
There
there.
are, yeah, the founder of Action Coach, his name is Brad Sugars. Action Coach is 31 years this year, and he has written 17 books, and they're all, I could read all of them again. And every time I do read one, I learn a lot from it. But I think that 7 Habits would be a good one to go back to because it's just so foundational. I think a lot of what people teach is from that. New teachers are still teaching that foundation that Stephen Covey taught so well. So, well, okay, you read it again, and so will I. And then let me know when you're done.
I'll do that. I'll do
All
that.
right. So when it's all said and done, what do you want people to most remember about you and your business?
That is that really makes you look inside. I've struggled with that question when you sent that out to me to think about. I think I want people to remember me as a good guy,
Mm-hmm.
somebody that cared about his employees and families and friends, and maybe left a legacy um, with our business and with
Mm-hmm.
the organizations that we've been involved in, and time that I've invested, to help other people. If I am remembered that way, I will. It will be an honor.
I like that. I hear weaved into everything you've said. It's a customer success. I've heard that multiple times. That's where you get you would love your legacy to be about customer success. Of course, you mentioned your team, and that's important too. But earlier, when I asked about what inspired you, you said the satisfaction of helping a client. You're very entwined with your clients. That's for sure.
We're focused on that.
Integrated.
Integrated, yeah, that works for a lot of things. Well,
Mm,
our mission at our agency is to lead clients to business success. I mean,
mm.
that's our mission. So everything that we do kind of revolves around that. So yeah, that's part of our DNA.
Good mission. Good mission. You must have had a great
Thank you.
agency help you with that,
I tell you what, sometimes it's harder to do work for
isn't
yourself
it?
than it is for others because you get so myopic, and
Sure.
it's hard to get outside the box, outside the blinders. But we did include our entire team in coming up with that, and we talk about it all the time because it is so important.
Well, and it's simple. It's a simple one that you've created. And if it's not simple, our mission, our vision is world abundance through business reeducation. And then our mission is a coach in every business. Even though it's probably not going to happen in my lifetime, it's an easy mission to think about fulfilling,
That's a great mission, and
isn't
it's
it?
easy to remember,
Yep.
and that's a great goal to have.
And when we achieve it, we'll jump like crazy. But everything we do should get us to that. And that's what a good vision and mission does. I think is just to give you that check and balance. Is this getting us where we want to go? It's either yes or no. There's nothing else.
That's right. I
Yeah.
agree.
So, Cliff, it's been a pleasure talking to you. This went kind of fast, which I enjoy. I mean, and when they go fast, I know I've enjoyed the interview. So I have enjoyed the interview with you. How can people find you if they want to know more about your podcast that you have, the Outdrive podcast, which I listen to and I think is fascinating. And then also if they want to learn about the other services that you provide, or if they just want to have a conversation with a successful entrepreneur or business owner, how do they find you?
Well, our website is ecallis.com. And if you want to follow our content, we push a lot of it out on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And then my email address is ccallis@ecallis.com. And that's the best way to just reach out
Okay.
to me.
Okay, I love that. Thank you very much for your time today. And I'm looking forward to getting this interview out so many can see it. And I am Coach Lee with Action Coach Business Coaching, and this is the Business Spotlight. And I just interviewed the founder, Cliff Callis of of Callis, right? Just Callis Agency or Marketing Agency. You're a marketing agency and you have a podcast. Thank you very much. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.